Hello and welcome to this tutorial that explains the relationship between trade profit point and the trade control window. So as you can see, there's an awful lot of colors and different sets of information. So what I want to do is make it as simple as possible. The big thing to pay attention to in this whole relationship tutorial is trade profit point, trade control, and this bull control window. These three things with the live price, which of course it's in yellow, so you have to enter in the actual live price of the stock. That's a manual entry. These four things, 1, 2, 3, and 4, directly affect the trade profit and loss. And the video will explain how that works. As a reminder, with the bull bear profit strategy, a trade can consist of shares long and short. The color and wording of the bull control will change depending on the shares in the trade control window. And once again, trade control is the total shares for the trade. In this example, this is a bullish trade that is profitable. So the scenario is we have 400 shares that got filled at $5, and there's no shorting going on at all here. There's 0 shares. So that's the trade scenario. So how it simply works is right here, the trade control window and shares can be green, red, or orange. So these can change to be green, red, or orange. So when shares turn green, which they are now, the bulls control the trade, because when a stock price is higher, or I should say when it's green, because there's more shares green or more shares long than there are short. That's why it's green. So when the stock price is higher than the trade profit point, and $6 is higher than $5, that equals profits, which is right here. Very important to note as well what the trade profit point is. The trade profit point is the also known as average price or break even, which is where the overall trade can turn profitable or start to lose money. And that's what this explains. So the profit point is when it's green, it turns profitable. Once again, I'm going to read this again to make it clear. The bulls control the trade when this is green. When the stock price is higher than the trade profit point, you're profitable. And that's what we're viewing right now, this trade scenario. When the stock price is lower than the profit point, that's going to be a loss. When this window turns red, the bears control the trade. So when the stock price goes below the trade profit point, that's going to be profitable if it was red. You can also note down here the color code for the trade control window. Red means the bears are in control. A bear trade means there's more shares short than there are long. So when a stock price is higher than the profit point, so when the stock price is higher than the profit point, that's going to be a loss under a situation where the bears are in control and this is red. If it's orange, that means the trade is frozen and the trade control will go to 0, meaning there's an equal amount of shares long as there are short. The profit or loss will not move and be frozen at the price when the trade froze. So we'll explain further down different scenarios about when the trade is bearish or when it's frozen. The color code, this window color code is summarized right here. If this is green, which again it isn't green, the bulls are in control. So on a bull trade, there's more shares long than there are short. And the red means there's more shares short than long. And orange, a trade is frozen. Trade control window turns orange, trade is frozen, and there's an equal amount of bull and bear shares. So the equal amount of shares long as there are shares short. If we scroll down and take a look at other trade scenarios, we'll see the change in color of trade control as well as bull control. So when we scroll down to the next section, it will show when the trade will be bear. The bears will be in control of the trade, meaning there'll be more shares short than there are long. And then when the trade control is bearish, this window will say bear control. And then when we scroll down to the next scenario where a trade is frozen, this window will turn orange and it will say frozen. So we'll scroll down here, and pictured below is a bear trade that is profitable. This is the scenario here. We have 0 shares for the bull trade and we're shorting 400. The negative denotes 400 shares short, and a fill price of $8, which shows it here. We have a trade profit point goes to $8. This is assuming a price at $6, and our trade control turned red. The live price is $6 once again, and the bear control color and wording changed to reflect the trade control, which is right here is red, so it's now a bear control. The trade profit and loss percentage and number are now showing profits. And they're showing profits, as you note, the live price is below the profit point or the break-even price. That's why we're profitable, because it's a short. Trade control is red, more shares short than long. The bears control the trade, means whenever stock price is below the trade profit point, the trade is profitable. And the last scenario is when a trade is frozen. If we note here, it doesn't matter the price as long as the quantity of shares on the bull trade and the bear trade are even. They cancel each other out basically. So we're 400 shares long and 400 shares short. So when that happens, the trade profit point will show div/00, which is just what Excel shows. A divide by 0 error means no sell value. And what's really important to note is, why do you even want to have this trade situation to begin with? When a trade is frozen, the live price can change any amount and the trade P&L will not change. The advantages of that are explained right here. One main advantage, I should say, of freezing a trade is to prevent further loss from occurring compared to a stop loss where real losses occur. So if you're in a trade situation where you're starting to lose money, you're not sure what is going to go on in the future for the price, and you don't want any further loss, then you can go ahead and freeze a trade, and that will literally stop whatever loss you're at. And once again, it doesn't matter where the price will go. If you're in this situation, well, there's not a situation showing a loss here, but if you are in a trade situation where your trade P&L is negative, in other words, you're losing money, just freeze the trade. And if you're in a bear situation, you want to go long 400 shares. If you're in a bull situation going 400, then you're going to want to short 400 shares. And at that price where you make the trade frozen, that's where the existing loss, trade P&L loss, will freeze. That's a real important feature, so you don't have to literally take a loss, and you prevent any further loss from occurring. And depending on your strategy, when the trade resumes to your strategy, and the price may resume up or down depending on if you're long or short, or bear biased or bull biased, I should say, then you can turn the trade back on by simply eliminating whatever shares you did in the first place to freeze it. So if you shorted 400 shares, You can buy back those shares, which would bring you back to a what I call a bull bias, or the trade is biased for going long or bullish. Then the trade is turned back on, so to speak, and you can resume hopefully on a bullish trend. The other things that happen with the trade control window is the trade control, as I said, will turn orange, the trade status turned orange, and the wording changed to being frozen. When a trade control is orange, the trade is frozen and trade control will go to 0. Equal shares long and short, once again. The profit or loss will not move and be frozen at the price when the trade froze, which I explained earlier. For further clarity, we will set up the initial trade scenario and see the calculator work live, inputting this trade scenario of a fill price of $5 and quantity of 400 shares, and then we'll go through each scenario with a live working calculator. So here is the calculator, and we've entered in our fill price of $5, 400 shares, and there's no trades on the bear side of the calculator. Just a little quick refresher, everything in green will pertain to the bull trade. This section right here and this section right here, since it's surrounded with a green border, that pertains to the bull trade, and the other side is true. Everything in red, the red bordered sections, pertain to the bear trade, and anything in black is for informational purposes for the trade data. So with this scenario of a fill price at $400 and a live price of $6, that means we're at a profit of $400. Our trade control window is green and it shows 400. Of course, it's showing bull control. So we will change the trade to a bear trade and use the numbers in our previous slide. In our previous slide here, we're going to change our bull trade to 0 and our bear trade to a fill price of $8 and a shorting of 400 shares. So we'll go fill price of 8 and minus 400. We'll close the bull trade. And we had a live fill price of $6. And there it is, $6. And as noted, since we're in a full bear trade, we're showing our color change to red, indicating the bear trade, and the wording and color changed to bear control. Of course, that turned red. And since our live price is lower than our profit point, and we're shorting, we're having a profit of $800. Continuing on and illustrating the scenario of freezing a trade, we will go ahead and freeze the trade by entering in this trade scenario right here. We'll have a fill price of $5 on the bull trade, 400 shares, and then we'll have a fill price of $6. The price, by the way, doesn't matter. What matters most is the shares. That's when you freeze a trade. And then we'll have on the bear side a fill price of $6 and minus 400 shares. We'll change this to $6. And we'll put in our fill price of $5 and 400 shares. So when that happens, as you could see, our trade control goes to 0 and it turns orange, and of course the trade is now frozen. And this will go to div/0, which we said earlier happens when we have equal amount of shares. Now in this trade control zero frozen trade situation. As mentioned earlier, this live price can change anywhere, and literally we will be locked in at a $400 profit in this trade scenario. If we were to enter in and price were to go to $1, our trade P&L does not change. If we were to go to $15, of course, as I said, the trade is literally frozen. So this is good in a scenario if you're losing money and you need to just stop the situation of losing any more money, and you need to freeze the trade. Just make sure the shares even out and you will freeze the live profit and loss. And this concludes the video on the relationship between the trade profit point and the trade control window.